My name is Matthew Hillier. I come from Sydney in Australia, and I was commended from Eastwood Christian Fellowship in Sydney, and we've had the opportunity to work in Moldova for the last 15 years. In the work I have a lot of different roles, I guess, that I'm involved in. Generally overseeing the ministry of CMI Aid, Christian Mission International Aid, and that also involves doing a lot of work with those involved in the ministry, so workers within the ministry, so worker care and spending time with the workers, and also they're involved a lot in the local assembly as well. As an elder in the assembly, do a lot of Bible teaching in the assembly. So my time is split between the two areas, really overseeing the ministry and also serving in the assembly. Went to a Christian school in Australia when I was in year 7, so this was a long time ago. There was a teacher at the school, actually he wasn't a teacher, he was a bus driver at the school, who had an interest in the Soviet Union, and he started to tell me about Christians who were persecuted. Then he invited me to write letters to Christians who were persecuted in the Soviet Union. He said, look, if you want to write letters, I'll bring you some information. And he brought a piece of paper with phrases in Russian, like, we're praying for you, or we know about your situation, and some verses in Russian as well. And he said, just copy these onto a card or a letter. Here's the addresses, send off to one of these addresses. And he said the purpose for this is not so much that you'll get a reply, because you probably won't, because most of them are not allowed to write to people outside the country. But he said the authorities will know that Christians around the world know about the Christians who are in prison in the Soviet Union. And so it was sort of really informing people to pray, and then to bring encouragement, or that was the idea behind it. And I started doing that. Then of course in 1989, when communism collapsed, some of the people that I'd been writing to started writing back to me and said, we received the letters while we were in prison. We couldn't write to you then, but we can write to you now. And we would like to ask for your help. We need Bibles, we need Christian literature. Would you be able to send us Bibles and literature? So from Australia, I started sending Bibles and Christian literature across, getting some from different organisations. They're in Russian, the language of that time that they all spoke. And also that sort of led to sending containers of aid and help. And then in 1996, I had the opportunity to make the first visit to Eastern Europe to meet some of the people I'd been writing to and we've been providing help to. And I think just, through that, the Lord laid on my heart that part of the world, and through that really initial contact with that man who, shared some of the stories from that part of the world. And that's where the first interest came from. And then step by step, the Lord opened up the way to finally be there. I was 21 years old when I went on the first trip in 96. And so, in heading out, it was, I'd read a lot about the countries, I'd heard a lot, we had Lonely Planet books in those days. I think you still buy them, but, read all about the countries and, the do's and the don'ts and what it's like and the dangers and stuff. But to me, it was just pure, actually, I have to be honest, excitement, the idea of getting to this place, which would be obviously so different to anything that and it was when I got there. It's a funny thing how time changes you. When you're in an environment, you get so used to it. Don't even think about any of the things I thought about at that time now in Eastern Europe. But at that time, everything was so different. And I was shocked. At that time, I was shocked by the poverty. It was not something that I had seen at all, living in Australia. So, the living conditions of people was vastly different to anything I'd ever seen. And just the condition of the place, because the economy, obviously the latter years of the Soviet Union have been pretty difficult for people. The economy was in a bad way. And just the way things were done. I remember the thing that stood out to me most when I first arrived. I remember I flew from Frankfurt to Odessa on Lufthansa, German Airlines, and we landed on the tarmac. And the thing that I remember clearly was all the dogs, stray dogs walking around the tarmac, things that, we would have just would have been at home, it just wouldn't happen. But there, that was, and these are things that stick in your mind, yeah. And we think of sending in terms of sending someone abroad, but I think it's really important too, if there's somebody in the assembly who has feels the Lord is calling them to do a ministry of some sort. It's great if the assembly can, if they feel it's the right thing, of course, get behind them in relation to that. So even when I started sending parcels of Bibles, the assembly were really behind this, and people said, not only will we encourage you to do it, we want to get in, we want to help you do it. And I remember they said, if you want to make a packing day, we'll bring people from the assembly will come and help. And so that happened. And then when we did containers, it was just the same. And then when it came to the time that it was on my heart after traveling a lot over there that, to be involved full time, the people, they were very, very supportive and felt that was the right thing to do as well. So they were happy to commend to the work in that way. If the Lord is truly sending you, He will, in one way or another, provide what you need. Maybe not always what you want, but He will provide, yeah.